We have multiple New York Rangers updates to go over today as the Rangers have made another sneaky signing out of the NCAA. We have some injury updates to cover, and of course, Gabe Perreault and his debut. And where does he fit into the lineup moving forward? We have all of those updates today and more. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with the New York Rangers, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. So we have a lot to get into today, so we're going to dive right into the first order of business. We'll get to Gabe Perreault in a second, and there is some crazy news surrounding Gabe Perreault. But first things first, the New York Rangers have signed UConn goalie and undrafted free agent Callum Tung, and it is signed to a 3-year entry-level deal, and the 21-year-old was excellent for the Huskies this season with a .933 save percentage, and he will be, unlike Gabe Perreault, reporting to AHL's Hartford Wolfpack. And if you take a look at his stats the last couple seasons, specifically at the University of Connecticut this season, again, .933 save percentage, and some pretty good numbers. He had just a .201 goals against average, which I do believe is more of a team stat anyway, personally. But nonetheless, some good stats. And again, he's a little bit older, right? He's a 2003 born. He's 21 years old already, but pretty good option there. And I think that gives some insight to Rangers fans about the future of the goaltending. You know, Dylan Grant could be on his way up sooner rather than later. Obviously, Jonathan Quick signed for next year. He's going to be there next year as the backup, but maybe the plan is for, Dylan Grant to come up a little bit sooner. Maybe the year after that. He is touted to be the backup goalie, and this is a guy who can kind of take over for the AHL's Hartford Wolfpack. But anyway, sneaky signing there for the New York Rangers. But the next order of business is obviously Gabe Perreault. We're going to get to some practice updates in a second. There's also a Matt Rempe injury update we will get to. But Gabe Perreault, there's so much hype around this player, and he practiced today, almost 5 minutes ago. They just got off the ice at the time that I'm recording this, and I'll cover all the fallout and all the quotes and stuff like that. But we do know where he's playing. But some interesting stuff to note. First of all, this is from Larry Brooks 13 years ago. If you all remember, Chris Kreider came in at the end of a season into the playoffs and made a bit of an impact as well in the playoffs. And BC product Brian Boyle welcomed his fellow Eagle Chris Kreider to the New York Rangers and the NHL, and the circle of life continues as Kreider can now pay it forward with Gabe Perreault, which I think is pretty cool. And there was some speculation earlier that maybe they could be playing on the same line in Gabe Perreault's debut, but we'll get to that. And by signing his ELC with the New York Rangers, Gabe Perreault has now officially burned the first year of his 3-year ELC. So he'll have 2 years left after this year. He's expected to be at practice tomorrow. He did practice today. And the expectation is that he'll make his debut on Wednesday against the Minnesota Wild. That has been confirmed. That is happening. And from Jim Cerny as well, a couple things on Gabe Perreault that I thought was very interesting. And if he's going to be in the lineup, it makes sense for Perreault to play top 6 minutes. And this is exactly what I was talking about in a video yesterday. If he's going to be in the lineup, if you're going to burn an ELC, or a year of his ELC, he has to be in the top 6. He cannot play on the 4th line. He cannot play on the 3rd line. Let's not make the same mistakes that we made with so many other players, including Capo Caco. Let's give this guy, who has all the skill in the world, who's supposed to be a good NHLer, the best opportunity to succeed. So, the most logical move is to have him on JT Miller's line. I think everybody can see that. We'll get to the actual lines in a second. I keep teasing it, but that could free up some space for Perreault, who's not a physical force, on that line with a guy who is very physical and JT Miller. And his situation brings back memories of, other alumni from Boston College. Chris Kreider, 2009 first-round pick, won the national championship at BC, then turned pro and helped the Rangers reach the Eastern Conference Final that year, and then ultimately lost against the New Jersey Devils, but we don't have to get into that part. But, of course, that is from Jim Cerny, and thought that was pretty interesting. And, again, quick update on Matt Rempe before we actually get to the rest of the practice stuff and where Gabe Perreault will be playing tonight. Matt Rempe is on the ice today, and he is skating in a green non-contact jersey. So it looks like he's progressing. It looks like he's getting closer and closer to a return. But again, he's still going to have to practice with the team in a in a contact jersey, a regular jersey, before he gets back into the lineup. So still a little ways away, it seems like. And, they did say week to week. So looks like he will be out for a little bit of time yet. But now back to Gabe Perreault. He was skating this morning. Another interesting thing to note that I don't have here in the images is obviously he's playing on power play 2, and he was swapping out with Will Cooley. So he was getting some power play 2 time, getting some reps there. I wonder if he sees that during the game. I wonder if that's an option for the Rangers if they do use him on power play 2. I think that could be very interesting because he should be. And, another question has been answered as well this morning. He's not wearing 34 because obviously Artur Kaliev, who's done for the season, is wearing that number. He's going to wear 94, which his father, Yannick Perreault, did in the NHL as well. So that's pretty cool. Good story there. Obviously 94, last time the Rangers won the Stanley Cup. A lot of people are drawing, connections to that as well. Maybe Gabe Perreault can help them make the playoffs and go on a bit of a run. We'll see how that goes. I'm very excited to watch him play, but he is wearing number 94. But I do wonder next season if Artur Kaliev, does walk, which it's looking likely like he won't return to the Rangers organization. We'll see what happens there, but that he would switch to 34, 34, but for the time being, 94. Now, the Rangers lines. These are the actual lines via Vince Mercogliano at practice this morning that Peter Laviolette has put together. You got the first line of Panarin, Trocheck, Othmann. I think that's fine. I think Othmann's been playing very well. He's been very noticeable, and I think that line should do well against the Minnesota Wild. Now, here it is. Gabe Perreault is in the top 6. He's playing second line minutes with Lafreniere and JT Miller. So I think that's great. I think that, he hasn't really earned it at the NHL level yet, but like I was saying earlier in the video, you got to give him the best chance to succeed. You cannot have this guy start on the 4th line or the 3rd line. So I'm glad that this is the case. And I think with JT out there, it's going to make things a lot easier for Gabe Perreault on that line. So I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do together. And I'm glad that Peter Laviolette has him up in the top 6. And these lines are very close to, some of the lines we were talking about yesterday, like Vince had, like Molly Walker had. A lot of the lines look very similar. And of course, that 3rd line with Kreider, it's still the same. Kreider, Zibanejad, Cooley, and then you got a 4th line of Brett Berard, Sam Carrick, and Johnny Brzezinski, who has been playing well. I'm surprised Brzezinski's not maybe a little bit higher, but Cooley's been playing well as well, so he's got to be on that 3rd line. So that all makes sense, and Othmann getting the opportunity there on the 1st line. And I think that the 1st and 2nd line are honestly on the Rangers very interchangeable. Like I wouldn't label line one over the other. Honestly, whatever line has JT Miller on it should be line 1. That's just the way I see it. But from Vince Mercogliano as well, a nice landing spot for Gabe Perreault, and Othmann gets to continue the chemistry he's shown with Panarin and Trocheck the last couple of games. They've been great together. I think Othmann has, since he got that first point and got that, off his back, and he's just able to focus on his game now. He's been playing really, really well. And again, they've been the Rangers' probably most dangerous line, but I think that's about to change. I think the most dangerous line is about to be, honestly, minus Lafreniere because he hasn't been great. It's going to be JT Miller and Gabe Perreault. So we'll see what they can do together. And again, if it's not working, switch it up. See what you can, find throughout the rest of the lineup. But I think to start, you have to give him the best chance possible to succeed. And he's going to be able to do that tomorrow night in his NHL debut against the Minnesota Wild on home ice at MSG. That's super exciting. I'm so excited to watch, and I think Rangers fans are absolutely fired up for this guy to come in. We'll see if the Rangers can push towards the playoffs still, because they're right there. They're right there on the outside looking in at a wild card spot. So it's going to be interesting to watch. Let me know in the comments what you think about Matt Rempe's injury status, what you think about Gabe Perreault, where he's playing in the lineup, his jersey number, anything you want to let me know in the comments, go ahead. And of course, new signings out of the NCAA. A lot of teams are doing it, and I would suspect that the Rangers maybe aren't done yet. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.